Welcome to another Feltaholics tutorial. And you guessed it, the pumpkins. First, what you're going to need is a dryer ball. And of course, it wouldn't be pumpkins without the oranges you need. So you're going to need about 14 inches to 16 inches of pumpkin orange, 8 to 10 inches of tangerine, then 4 to 6 inches of fern green and green tea. Then you'll need 28 inches of core wool that you'll divide into 7 4-inch pieces for the lobes, depending on the size of your pumpkin. Blending tools, this can be a brush or a carder, and whatever needles you prefer. Of course, I'm going to use a 40 spiral twist and a 32 triangle green. And let's get started. Now first you have your standard dryer ball, which is a 2x2 circle. Now with some dryer balls you can just go right ahead and felt with them, and if they're a bit too firm you can just lay lightly core wool on top of it, just very lightly like I've done here to save some time. And if they're a little squishable, you can actually smoosh them into the shape of a pumpkin. I've also done that with these ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of your pumpkin colors. I'm going to slice that in half, and we're going to lay it down right on top. Start at the edge and we'll work our way over, make sure that it is flat. Now this doesn't have to be perfect. This is just the undercolor. It does make a difference. You can see it's made a big difference with these ones. And we're just going to do the orange. It's a very long video if I show you how to do both. I have a Band-Aid on today. I had just had a reaction to some soap. You see, as we felt, we can move it back and forth again, as you've seen in other videos. Now these are your standard 2x2 dryer balls. You can get them at Walmart, Amazon, which they are cost a bit much on Amazon. I've seen them at dollar stores as well. And this will save you time for your felting a ball. If you don't have a dryer ball, you can simply felt a ball. Now a dryer ball is already semi-firm to firm and not squishy. So go ahead and cover your dryer ball, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, once you have it covered, all covered and smoothed as best as you can get, It's not 100% important. It's for the undercolor. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to take your 4-inch pieces. Of course, it depends on the size of your pumpkin. You can make these small as well, just downsize them. You're going to take your 4-inch piece and you're going to start at the top, and this is going to be one of your lobes. You're just going to wrap it from top to bottom. Start with the bottom, flatten that bottom piece down right into the center. Try to form, yes, I know it's a bad thing to do, not to drag your needle. Try to form a V, because this is going to form the top or the bottom, whichever you like. So loosely on one end. Now this next part is going to be a bit tricky if you want to keep the fullness of the lobe. So what we're going to do is hold it in place as we're just going to stab, not tap, stab down the middle. It'll hold it in place. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go in on an angle and stab that in just the very tip. And this is where you're going to start from. Now we're going to tap gently the top. And what that will do is firm up the outside, and you're going to do that a few times. To help hold that shape. Now next what you're going to do is you're going to take your fine felting needle and again go in on the angle, and we're going to firm this up. Now keep your fingers back because we are going in on an angle. And tap this in place. Now what will happen if you go hard at it or inward at it, it will flatten the lobe. It will take a few minutes. I'm not going any deeper than the first barb. Set it in place, then you can finish tapping down your loose bits around the bottom or the top. You can squeeze it a little bit, just watch your fingers. We'll show you how to mix the purple to make that pumpkin, but they're basically the same. Now the reason that we covered this instead of leaving it white is between the lobes. If there's any seams, you would have seen the white ball underneath. This way you only see orange. If you do flatten it out, you can always add a bit more to it. Now, if you think your pumpkin is going to be handled a lot, then you can make it a bit extra firm. Now you'll do this for all 4 lobes. Here's another trick. If you want to make it a bit firmer, you can roll it on your mat, a dish towel, if you have a foam mat. It almost forms the shape that you need. You could lay it down right beside the next one. See, it's already forming lobes. Line it up. Tap that down. Excuse me, stab that down. And again, loose on one end, in case you need to readjust it. This one seems a bit longer. I might have to do that. We'll see. Now, to join this one to that one without really joining it, again, stab it right down in there in place. Remember, on an angle. And again on this side. As I showed you the first time. And again, as I always say, you're not on a time limit. I am. Tap it down in place. Take your fine needle. Remember, tap, don't stab. You're firming up the outside. Make corrections as you go. If your pumpkin is bigger, you could add another lobe. So let's see, news for the month. Well, I did my last research trip for the year. Interesting, again, as usual. Went to New York State and the Adirondack Mountains. A lot of times I go up into the mountains, usually where people don't go often. So while I was there, this nice couple told me about wolves or coyotes in the area, and of course they're not supposed to be there, or that's what they've been told, and I was hearing them every night. But they weren't wolves, and they weren't coyotes, and they weren't red wolves. They were coy wolves. Coy wolves are a cross breed between coyotes and wolves. They sound different. Their footprint's a bit different, and I do have a footprint cast of theirs, and I even recorded them howling during the night. Even their howl. They don't sound like a coyote, and they don't sound like a wolf. And yet, a fish and game say, well, they're not there. So part of my job is to report such things. So I'll be doing that. And even with evidence and proof, they don't always believe you. Don't want to scare people is usually what they say. What's there to be scared of? It didn't bother me. While I was there, they stayed away. And this is an area with bears, a lot of black bears. And I didn't even see one bear track, not one. So we hiked back to the lake. And one of the best spots to look about for tracks is mud, of course, or around ponds, around lake areas. And I saw a curious thing. I thought it was an eel at first, eel, E-E-L, because we do have eels here, and where I was at. No, it was a leech. Good size leech, too. Well, it had itself stretched out. It looked like an eel. And then it did its plunger thing, which means to go small and move around. I'm like, oh, it's an eel. Well, must have thought I looked tasty. I'm glad I didn't go in the water. Even growing up in the country, I've never had a leech on me. I never want a leech on me. Okay, here we go. You got your lobes going. Let's roll it again because I like this idea. Oh, we got some vegetable matter and a little bit of straw in there. Must have been a happy sheep. We're just fitting them how they fit. A bit more. What else? News. Kittens. Once again, my son brought me 4 kittens. I was working at a job site, and there was these 4 little kittens, about 3 weeks old, climbing up his pant leg. And he texts me about 8 o'clock in the morning, hey Ma, you want to save some kittens? And of course I can't refuse. There's 4 of them, 3 weeks old. They are feral. Well, not now. So he says, Nick, call animal control, because my son's name, call animal control and see if they'll go pick them up. I said, if they're not there by 5 o'clock, bring them to me. So he made a special trip back to see at 7 o'clock at night, and the kittens were still there. What's very sad is that there were 3 adult cats there. Couldn't catch them. So one of them was the mommy and another one was the daddy, and they're probably still there. But I would hope that somebody would go and pick them up. Winter is coming. And they didn't look in very good shape, and they need some help. But I have the 4 little kittens here. 3 of them are black and white, and 1 of them is black. They have long hair. And it's been a long time since I've had to raise babies. Got the little kitten bottles and kitten formula. Now they're eating solid food and kibble and out running around. And Oliver, y'all remember Oliver? He loves them. It's unusual for a boy cat to take up with babies. But he's a little over a year old, and he's a good size, considering. So my son found him sitting in the middle of the road, just up from my house. He escaped the barn, I believe. But I don't know what barn it could have been, because there was no barn around where he was at. But given Oliver's nature, it could have been anywhere. But he loves them. He gives them toys. Oliver likes to play with straws, so I'll give him a straw from time to time. And he took it and he gave it to the babies. I have them in an open pen. And he just takes stuff, drops it into them. Toys, bottle caps. Oliver's very intelligent for a cat. But he loves them. He plays with them. They're his playmates. There's quite a bit of age difference between Oliver and Binks, so I'm sure he's glad to have babies to play with. The challenge was thinking of names for them all. And yes, I'll be keeping them. I'm a bit of a crazy cat lady. They couldn't have been separated. Anyway, they look after each other. Now, when Nick brought them to me, the runt of the litter wasn't doing very well. She almost died. Water got spilt on her, and it was a cold, windy, chilly, wet day. They put water in the box. It didn't hold the babies were. And with the windows rolled down, yeah, it gave her a chill. So when he brought her here, wrapped her in a towel, and she was too small to put on a heating pad. She wasn't even a pound. So just wrapped her up in a towel and kept her right tight against me. So then my body heat would warm her up slowly. So she had a bit of a rough start, but believe me, she's a rough and tumble kitten now. And her name is Mayu. That's the Egyptian word for cat. I was hoping to find something that we could pronounce, different words for cats. And then we have Nico, which is Japanese for cat, and he's the black one. And then we all decided on Freya. And for the bigger, fluffier one, that's Teddy. He's Teddy Bear. Well, I call him, his name is Theodore, because I thought that would be funny. But we call him Teddy because he's a teddy bear. But they're all fine and they're thriving. But that's it. I'm full up. Unless there's another emergency for cats, I'm full up. And I have time now since I'm done my work for the year. For traveling. One of the reasons I work independently is so I can do that. Now, as you've seen, it's forming the lobes. Now, go ahead and put the rest on like I've showed you, and we'll be back here in a minute. And we're back. Of course, there was a few changes while we took a break to finish the lobes. Oliver has joined us. I said he could stay as long as he stays in his spot. Now, once you have done making the lobes and making them at least semi-firm, what we're going to do next is blend some color. So you'll want to take equal parts of whatever color you're going to use, either with the purples or the oranges, but we're going to use the oranges. You can either do this in a small amount or a large amount, depending on how you're going to blend it. So we're going to do small part, for example. Again, excuse my fingers. I just had a bad reaction to some soap. If you want a darker pumpkin, then you'll use a little bit more of a darker color. So we're just going to pull this apart. And then we're going to take our brushes. The reason I turn it back and forth, it'll cut down on the stripes. The stripes, sorry. And you get the color that you would like. Go from the bottom carefully. Pull it up. You have some orange. Separate it here a little bit. Oh, Ollie, here's something. Start with one of the lobes. Pull this up a little bit. Get right down. And again, with your fine felting needle, you're going to go over it carefully. You're going to firm up the lobe again. Take this strip. Felt it down. Then over top and felt that down. Now you'll want complete coverage. You'll have to do this a couple more times. And go right ahead and do that. And remember to save a little bit of the darker for the in-between parts. And we'll be right back. Now once you're finished covering it, you should have just about a fully formed pumpkin. Yours will be a bit more firmer than this one is. Now we're going to make the stem. So we're going to take two small pieces and we're going to blend them just like we did with the orange. But luckily I have a big batch of green sitting in front of me. So we're going to use that. So with me, I just got to pull it out. That's funny, it went flying. So we're going to make the circle at the top and fill in the grooves. Give it a little twirl. So line the stem up in the middle with the bits in each of the grooves. Just a little bit. You could add a little brown in this if you like. Put it up in there. And felt this down until it's semi-smooth. As you can see, this one sits up a little bit. If you want a darker green stem, you can do that too. Give it a little bit of a tuck. There's a little bit of a tuck here. And a little one here. What we're doing is we're pushing that up in to form the stem. You can take your time doing it. Flatten that down. Just in the middle and on the outside. You want it to stick up a little bit like it is. Of course, you can leave that because some pumpkin stems do stick up like that. And we're not going to do a standing stem for this one. We're going to do the flat stem. Now work at this. Then next we're going to take a sliver of the darker orange. This is roll. And this is going to go in between the lobes. Again, for contrast. A twirl and a tuck. Of course, you could lay this down before you put the stem on. Just really work that in there. And flatten that out. Just going to put a bit of green on the bottom. Brown or off-white. I've used an off-white for this one. Go ahead and finish putting the lobes in. As you work this in good, put it in on the sideways and then turn it. Put it in sideways like this again. All right, go ahead and work those lobes in. And we're rounding the finish line, and I'll show you what to do next. Now we're in the home stretch. And before we come to the end of this tutorial, just a couple quick announcements. My Etsy shop will be opening soon, so you'll be able to buy a lot of the things that you see me make here, as in kits. And once I have this thing finally off the ground, we're going to do a monthly fun felting challenge. Workshops, I'll be having some workshops coming up. Tips and tricks, of course, and the long-awaited tool school. And maybe I'll do a face reveal for the day that everything is finally up and running. But it depends, you know. Sometimes you can get a really good night's sleep and still look like you got hit by a truck. We'll see. I'll try my best. And hopefully, no promises, I'm doing my very best way before the end of this month, which is October 2024. And I want to give a shout out to Sheila, who's been felting like crazy, all kinds of fantastic pictures. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my good friend over at Caledonia Wool Company on YouTube and Facebook. Go check that out. We always have fun over there. And just a quick reminder of the needle felting needles offer, that you can check that out in the last video. And could I get everybody to please like and subscribe? It also lets me know what you like more, and then I can offer these in kits. So now we're about finished. So I'd like you to take some of the tangerine and take wispy bits. Pull them apart if you have to. Just little wispy bits. Yes, I'm going to cut this with the scissors. We need it very fine for contrasting. Now you don't have to do this, but it does add contrasting to the pumpkin. Gives it a more realistic look. A little bit of fading on the top. So when it comes to fading and shadowing, it will fade quicker when the sun comes up and moves around. So it moves around on it. So the fading on one side will be more intense than the other side, as you see in this one. So we're going to take the fine felting needle. That seems a bit long. I'm going to cut this in half. You know, many people say don't cut your felt, but it's already wispy. Pull at the ends a little bit. And remember, don't overdo it with the tangerine, or you'll engulf the whole pumpkin in this lighter color. Spread it out a little bit. And I do always recommend sewing scissors, like the ones you just saw me with, because they work so much better with the felt. We're doing, we go back and forth as we're spreading it out just a little bit, tapping it down. in that crease a little bit. Remember, you're tapping it into place, not stabbing it. But around the stem, you'll want to get it in there really good to definitely keep that in place. You want to keep that momentum going. Definitely try to cover these lines. Excuse me. Just keep felting and tapping into these lines until it's blended. And now one of your lobes looks a little bit more faded. And we're going to do another lobe, the wispy bits. Pull it out a little bit. And lay it down and keep the momentum going. Tuck it in around the stem. Oh, what you could do if you're doing a pumpkin from a picture, it's a bit of this fading on it from the sun. Go ahead and study that. So I took art in high school. So I have no formal training. And I'm a very artsy person. I can draw and paint just about anything I've seen. So when I got into high school, I was already advanced. The one thing I did learn in my class was shading, and fading, and colors, and color mixing. There we go. As it keeps that momentum going. And you can see it all working together. Oh, I got some wispy bits down here. Let's get those tapped in. We'll do another one. Oops. Not quite that much. It's a bit too much. I don't know if I've ever mentioned how I got into needle felting years ago. I was looking for a new art form for myself. I thought about getting into clay sculptures. I couldn't find proper books. And this was many years ago. I know that there's a lot of videos on YouTube now, but there was only a couple, and I wasn't interested in the way that they were doing it. And then I found a needle felting video, and I kind of took an interest in it. but I couldn't find anything. And I happened to get myself a little kit. I believe I might have showed it in one of the other videos. The first thing I ever made was a panda. And I still have it. And I do believe, and I might be wrong, I might have showed it in a video, previous video. And all I got with that kit was a couple of needles, synthetic wool, and the picture. No instructions. And it took me about an hour and a lot of hollering and yelling every time I stabbed myself and some very colorful words to make that little panda. And I was hooked after that. And I've been doing it ever since. Now, I have done a couple of felted pictures. I plan to do more in the future, but one thing at a time. Okay, we got a lobe there that didn't get covered properly. Let's just fix that now. Now, if you're happy with 3 faded pumpkin lobes, and that's where you want the sun to come up, remember to put a pinch on each side so then it looks even. So right about there, just pull it a little bit down to even with this and spread it out. And that's all you'll need to do. Now for the purple pumpkin, the colors you will need are amethyst, or a darker purple, and a darker mauve. And just repeat what you saw me do in this video, and you'll have yourself a purple pumpkin. Tap down. And for my next video, which will be coming out very, very soon, it's a surprise. And it will be a kit. Now when you go through and you firm this up, it will be as firm as this one and look just as good. Now we have a pumpkin patch. Thanks for joining me, everyone, this time. And we'll meet you back here really soon with the next October surprise.